Okay, so we will see if anyone comes on. All right. Well, I'm all set up. Have my special party lights on. Uh, I like different lights in my house. This particular one, this machine does a lot of stars and blues, whites, greens, reds, all different types of things. Okay, well, we got one person. So why don't we go ahead and get started? One's plenty. All right. So I just wanted to kind of give you a quick update on a couple things. Hey, Nadia, good to see you. Glad you're here. I'll give you a little bit of an update. I have the Etsy store. Well, I got an email from Etsy that actually said, "Hey, why don't you get into the holiday spirit?" I'm glad you're awake and you made it. Etsy said, "Why don't you get in the holiday spirit and do something nice for everybody?" So I was like, "Okay." So right now, in my Etsy store, if you have not checked it out, check it out. There are I'm offering attunements, connections with spirits. Right now, I have 21 angels, demons, goddesses, a whole bunch of different kinds, and they are now 20% off. So that is what Etsy was influencing me to do. So I'm going to go along with it. That'll be through this upcoming Monday, Cyber Monday. So if you get a chance, check that out. And if you visit, favorite the shop, even if you don't buy anything, that's more than okay. I also have a Facebook group, which is specific for anybody who either has an attunement or is interested in learning more about them, how they work. They can come in, ask questions. It was a private group, but now I'm opening it up to everyone. So I will put the links to the Facebook group and to the Etsy store in the link in the description. Just give me a few minutes because with these live chats, YouTube is like very impatient. And as soon as I hit the button to stop, it automatically posts the video and doesn't give me a chance to cue anything or to type anything or to give any extra um, concessions or anything. So just give me a few minutes and I'll have that done for you. So one of the things that people ask me is, okay, I don't know much about the attunements anyway, so why should I get one? Well, let's put this in context because an attunement is basically once you have it, which I send it, and you accept it, and then instantly the energy of special qualities of that entity will flow through you on your command. So let's say that you are at Christmas dinner and then you have that creepy uncle who is just passive aggressive. He's just putting down everybody in the family. And now it's your turn. So now with you can go to this situation, call upon energy of Hecate who doesn't put up with any crap. And as he does it, you can give him this really, really intense, dirty look and just completely shut them down. And they won't know what's going on consciously, but they'll know that this is not a situation where it's time to do this. And it could influence them to stop in the future. So this is how the energy can actually help influence people, or you can actually in another way um, you can embody the quality of that spirit to do other things. If you were going to a job interview and you wanted to summon the Bune energy for prosperity and abundance, that would be appropriate. But I don't want to, say too much about that. You can find out about all that in the group if you're interested. So let's talk a little bit about what I've been talking about in my videos, because I want to give everyone a chance to process this, ask questions. So what have I been going over? The last video, I started talking about angels and demons in mental wellness, because this is really not something that I see too much about. We know that through petitioning, summoning, evocation, all of that, that you can, uh, have a connection to a particular entity and have that entity potentially help you improve a certain area of your life. But mental health specifically is not something that people tend to focus on with respect to magic, at least general health, that sort of thing. And the second part of this is that we don't tend to use it for that particular purpose, and we probably don't give enough attention to our mental health anyway. We tend to stick with physical health more, especially males, unfortunately. We tend to go to the doctor when there is an emergency, but we don't tend to take care of our mental health as much as we should, and that's kind of something that we need to work on and improve. So what the video was talking about, if you haven't tuned into it before, was I spoke about a couple things. I talked about shadow work and how some people will try to connect with demons through the Qliphoth, the left-handed path. They go through that, and they come in contact with the demons associated with that. The Qliphoth is the dark side of the tree of life, and people use that path in order sometimes specifically to work on their shadow self. The shadow self is basically, and this goes back to early 20th century, Carl Jung, father of analytic psychology. He was a student of Freud's. He was the one to pretty much give this a lot of thought and put this together in writing. When he says the shadow is the unresolved, neglected, unevolved parts of us, that we have something that's called a persona, which is the way that we present ourselves to other people because we're social animals, and that is more like you would think of the conscious self, but there is so much more behind that, and that is our unconscious, and those parts that are, like I said, who are a little bit darker, um, are the parts that are back there, and that we need to tend to it. We need to acknowledge it. We need to understand it. We need to befriend it. And the worst thing that we can do is to pretend like it's not there. To pretend like that we are, well, I'll tell you what, there are actually two specific, I guess, I don't want to say kinds of people, but behaviors where I see that these specific people have a little bit of a problem with the shadow stuff. One would be the person who's very perfectionistic. It's very painful for them to make mistakes. Again, they're not in touch with that it's okay to make mistakes. So perfectionistic people tend to have a problem with that. The people who, when we're talking about the persona, the people who are very much super positive, bright white light rainbows, and apple pie type of people in their behavior, that the more that you project that out, that to that extreme, to that exact extreme, the other side is what's right there. That's right there. That's behind you. That is going to be operating from your unconscious. Yes, yes, shadows are real. So there are many different ways to work with that. Some people, like I said, work with that through working with demons. Well, why demons? Well, because if you've ever worked with a little bit of the darker spirits, they can, through we're talking thinking about vibration, in order to meet you where you are, that you have to, it could actually trigger some of the darkness within you. So now when it comes up, now you have to face it. So the Qlifoth and some of the other practices of that left-handed path can help you do that. Now, I want to let you know that that is not the easiest path to work through with your shadow self and your shadow work. That there are other ways of doing that. Life gives us enough triggers for our own darkness to work with. So you are more than welcome to learn more about that, work with a therapist. You can do some of that work on your own. Unfortunately, there are always some things that we don't see about ourselves and that other people can see us and us easier. So, setting the shadow stuff aside, I talked about other spirits, Buer, who is classified as a demon, who is good for general mental health, physical health. I talked about Raphael, who's the angelic side of that. And then more specifically, Zuriel, who is an angel that is designated as the one who is really good at working with mental health. So those three are really good, especially Zuriel. So what else? Talking about our videos. We talked a little bit about the story of Chris Case. That was the week before, if you remember. That's a funny joke. Okay. So Chris Case. Chris Case was a young music executive who was living in Seattle. By the way, I think I'm going to I think I want to do some more videos like this because I like looking at specific cases of the paranormal. Ones where I can tell the story and we can kind of look at it together. Maybe I'll call it something cool like Tales from the Mark Side or something. So, Chris Case, music executive. He was doing well for himself, well liked, took care of himself. He was. I'm glad that that you're here and that you're getting something out of it. He was doing well for himself, and he was going on a business trip with some friends in San Francisco, and he came across this lady who he was hitting it off with. He liked her because they shared an interest in ancient Egyptian music, which is kind of a rare type of, very specific type of interest that you don't run into people that in which they share that. And it through talking, this lady took an older lady took a really strong liking to him, and it wasn't reciprocated. Uh, and as the saying goes, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." She asked him to come back to her apartment. Appears like that it was like going to be like a one night stand type of situation. He told her no, and she got really angry. She kept trying to prod him. Hey, we're having fun. Why don't you just come over? And he said, no, I got to get up in the morning and all this other type of stuff. And he was really uncomfortable. And she got so mad that she said, look, I'm a witch and you're going to die within 7 days. Now, you can imagine that if someone told you that, he wasn't like a believer in the paranormal or the occult, so he kind of like brushed her off, and it was kind of a rude thing to say. Anyway, so he said, "Well, now I'm really convinced. I think I am going to go home." So he left, and nothing happened that night. And then the following night, he started to see the what we talk about in the videos, the shadow people, and one specifically. Someone who hasn't had experience with this, he was very frightened, and the shadow person would pace up and down his room in his house, and didn't know what to think, but he didn't sleep. And the next night, things started to escalate. He felt like he was being held down by a particular spirit when he was sleeping, and he was actually choked, according to him. Now, this is we can't speak to him about this, but this is what's been reported by what he told his friends, family during this whole situation. It freaked him out so much, and he hadn't slept for 2 days, that he went to a kind of a bookstore and got some books on witchcraft and demonology, and got salt and crucifixes and all kind of things, and brought it back to his house. He was arming up for, psychic attack from the spirits. Uh, in the end, one I think that night, he got so freaked out, he left, went to a hotel room, and left a message for his friend Sammy, telling her what's going on, that he was so afraid that he was going to die. And she didn't answer the phone, so he left the message. And so she called the police for a welfare check, for them to come and check on the guy. They went to his apartment, he wasn't there. So they said, "Oh, he's not here. We're gonna go, and maybe we'll check another time." So then he went back to his apartment, and she hadn't heard from him. So she was like, "Hey, please go check on him again, because now I haven't even heard from him for another day." And he was so freaked out. He's talking about demons and shadows and people choking him, and this isn't him. He's just a very practical, meat and potatoes type of guy. So they went back over, knocked on the door, but this time, they didn't really need to knock so much, because the door kind of went open, and they went in, they looked around, called for him, and they found him in the bathroom. He was in the bathtub with his hands up to his chest, leaning over. The police were freaked out too, because they had candles all over the place. They had those tin crucifixes. They had salt lining the edges of the baseboards of the house. And they went in, they found him. And when they did the autopsy, he died of heart failure. So the question is, what happened to this guy? Was it, they deemed it, the right natural causes on the autopsy report? Was this one of those situations where he had an underlying illness, and all of the stress and not sleeping caused his quick demise? Or was there this particular witch who used magic, maybe got lucky, and magic can sometimes work against people who have health vulnerabilities. It's kind of hard to believe. Like I said, when I say luck, I don't mean that. I mean kind of really bad luck, where someone can throw something and it just hits something at the right time. Sometimes it's hard to believe that somebody can make a prediction and say, "Yeah, this is going to happen. I'm going to do it to you," or at least she suggested it, and this person just completely declines. Usually, it takes more time for magic to work. But this person, what she said followed true to form, and he did in fact die. So that was the kind of what was happening with that video. Check it out if you are interested in that. I'm thinking about kind of some upcoming videos. Like I said, I like that Chris Case story. If any of you have seen the movie The Entity or read the book, The Entity. That is also a wild story that is based on true events. It's about a lady and her family, and she is a divorced lady, and she, after living in this house, something happens. She gets some paranormal events happen in her house, and she is actually physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, and it's just a horrible situation. And this is not just one time event. This is something that happens repeatedly. And they thought it was associated with a place, and she moves around a little bit, and it follows her. This case has been thoroughly investigated by paranormal researchers, and they made it into a book and a movie called The Entity. In fact, I have the movie. It's Barbara Hershey. She plays the main character, and Ron Silver. If some of you are older, know some of those actors and actresses. It came out in 1983. You might be able to find it on like Amazon, Instant Video or something like that. If you can appreciate horror movies without a lot of the side effects, it's in that era where they didn't have that, so they had to do more with less. If you like those types of movies, you probably would appreciate it. Some other types of videos I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about doing a video on the ends, the action. We have like in Tibetan Buddhism and other forms of Buddhism, they have chants to connect with various deities. Well, the ends are specific chants to connect with, honor demons. So I definitely want to do one on that. And these particular ends, these chants, according to the way the story goes, that there were a set of families that came together to organize all of the information on demonology, rather than having everything spread out. And they supposedly, the members of these families, I guess channeled would be the right word, these specific chants for these specific entities, these demons, and that when they got together that they were the same. So cool, interesting stuff. Okay, we got 7 people in here. I appreciate your comments. Does anybody have anything else? Like JP Morgan family. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Or the Rockefellers, right? Anybody have any comments or questions about the videos that we have or that I have done? Again, if you're Crowley. Yeah. Again, if you're tuning in late, if y'all are interested in attunements, I'm going to put a link to my Facebook group that you are all welcome to join if you want to learn about what attunements are, how they work, how can they benefit you. Well, I'm glad you found my channel. I thought I saw a ghost one time, but it could have. Yeah. So I will put links to all those things at the bottom. Just give me a few minutes because YouTube just wants to just shoot this video out here. It doesn't give me a lot of time to prepare things. So give me a little bit of time. I will do that for you. Well, I'm glad that you all are participating. Maybe I'll start doing this at night. I did it during the day last time and only had like a couple people show up, but 7 is plenty. And so 7 is a magical and mystical number, so it was obviously meant to be. Okay, folks. Thank you so much, and I'm going to see you in a future video, okay? Take care. Have a good Thanksgiving.